Hey y'all. So I woke up this morning and just like everybody else, grab the phone, scroll through your notifications, through your phone, scroll through social media, and that's just the way that we live in this modern day 21st century life, right? And I saw a title of a video. I didn't click on it because I had no interest for it. But there was the title of the video, something in regards to like the QAnon folks, the MAGA hat folks, the conspiracy theory ass folks, the January 6th folks, January 3rd, January 6th, January, whatever the fuck. Doesn't really matter. Them folks, right? In the video, or at least the thumbnail of the video, they said that one of the QAnon, I guess, loudmouths, the biggest loudmouths, the group runner, the leader with the whatever, the wolf pack, leader of the wolf pack, he ended up going to prison. He ended up going to prison for 3 years. And in the title, it said something like QAnon shaman. And I was like, shaman? Shaman? In what world do white people have shamans in their culture? Definitely not in the Roman church, right? Not in the Protestant church, not in the Baptist church. Where in the Fendi fuck do white people, whether we're talking about white Americans, whether we're talking about Europeans, have shamans in their culture? They don't. Shaman is a term used by those who are indigenous, those who are of African descent, and those who are othered, right? People of color, whether we're talking about Latinos and Latinas, whether we're talking about even Middle Eastern people. Actually, Middle Eastern culture is very interesting and very historic. We'll just say that historic. They have a form of shamans, right? So the term is more so aligned with people of color, ethnicity, ethnic people. It's a cultural thing. And a shaman in Latino culture may be the same type of qualification as a shaman in, let's say, African culture, but their job titles and what they do and how they do it is different because location, culture, influences, so on and so forth, right? And to sum it up real quick, a shaman is a person, usually a male, but it could be a female depending on, again, cultural, location, influences, history, and so on and so forth. But a assigned person of a particular group, usually a tribe, that is the medicine person, the healer, a person who's prophetic. This is a person who's in tune with their divinity, their humanity, their earth, and they are here to help their tribe, whether it's prophetic messages, healing people of illnesses, or even giving them spiritual insightfulness. Does that sound like Caucasian? The reason why I'm making this video was just like the absurdity of this white, let's be honest, probably on some like hick trailer trash background, is now all of a sudden claiming a term that is not of his cultural experience. And it just reminded me of how white people, whether we're talking about white capitalists like the Jeff Bezos, or whether we're talking about the average day, everyday white person, how it is a privilege and a luxury that you get to swallow other people's identities and not even have to think about the people that you're stealing their identity, stealing their culture, appropriating their existence, and still not have to see them as humans. And I say this to say, perfect example. The average white liberal will tell you, I'm not racist. I don't support the Klan. I don't even repeat the N-words when rap songs are on. Like, they will tell you all the buzzwords of how they are an ally for the LGBT, BLM, this, that, and the third, or their most personal experience with ethnicity, with culture, with quote unquote others is Beyonce, is Fenty Beauty, Rihanna's beauty line, is commercialism, is pop culture. But then we'll be the same white people who will be like, oh, I don't want your kids going to my kid's super zip school district. If you don't live here, you can't send your kid here. I don't give a damn how talented and how smart your kid is. No. I'm not racist, but like, ooh, I don't want them folks in my church. I don't want them folks having certain privileges or positions within my community. I don't want them folks this, that, and the third. I will use my race. I will use my capital. I will use my connections to create glass ceilings or use my guard dogs to prevent you from access into my space. But I'm not racist though. It's just for protection. It's just the way things are. But I'm not racist though, right? These people, these white people, don't see the privilege of just existing. And I'll get into that. As a white person, regardless if you are a capitalist or you are not, you've never had to go into a store and had to think, oh, I don't want anything in the store, so I'm filling to head out. And never had the thought that the shopkeeper might think you stole something because you didn't purchase anything. That's not even a thought to you as a white person. But ask how many Black people have actually thought of that. And of course, they didn't steal anything. But the thought of, I entered this store and I exited without paying for something, this shopkeeper might assume that I stole. This shopkeeper might try to run me down in the street, try to jump me down and George Floyd my ass because they thought something without any proof, right? That's not even a thought to you. That's not even a thought to you as a white person. Another experience, I remember in middle school, like if I had a funky little $10 on me, I'd get me a perm kit. And it really didn't matter which perm kit. It could have been the fake olive oil brand. It could have been the just for me kid kits. It could have been Duke with a relax Duke perm. Could have been that. It could have been Dark and Lovely, whatever your brand of choice is. And truth be told, I didn't really have a brand of choice. It was like which one was economically better for me and whichever could do the job, right? You slap this thing on your head because you believe that straighter hair is better hair. And I'm talking about this is like the mid 2000s. This was before the natural hair movement, before that shit was even a thing, a thought. Like natural hair, ew, what is that? If you're not rocking around that Hawaiian silky hair, if you didn't have that wavy hair, just like Jay-Z, I like the light skins with the wavy hairs. If your hair wasn't blowing in the wind like that, if your hair didn't have hang time like that, if you couldn't put your hair into a bun like that, then what was the point? And you definitely were going to be called out on it in middle school. Whether it's bald headed, whether you don't have any hair, like, yeah, an experience, a traumatic experience, right? So I would get the perm kits, right? And I thought, young kid, I thought if you put the perm or the relaxer in your hair, whichever you're using, perm gives you the wavy hair look and relaxer gives your hair the straight look, whatever. So you get this shit, right? You slap this shit on your head, at least me. And I'm thinking if I wait longer, if I wait a couple of seconds longer, a couple of minutes longer, my hair will be straighter. And these are chemicals. These are chemicals that burn your scalp to the point where you have open sores on your scalp. And I remember running to the bathroom and dunking my head in the tub full of water because that shit burned, motherfucker, burned. It burns all around your scalp. Open pieces of skin, open pieces, chunks. Raise your hand if you have that experience. Scalp burns in your scalp and you picking that thing during middle school history class. Raise your hand if you had that experience. All for a particular look that is exactly the opposite of who you are. Opposite of 4C hair. Opposite of 4B, 4A hair. Because you want a particular look because you have been told that particular straight look, that particular wavy look is a la mode. And there's something inherently wrong with you because you cannot match the expectation. And then when you would come to school or go anywhere and white people would see this dramatic change, I feel like it's this, for Black girls, raise your hand if this is you. I feel like getting a perm was the same thing like getting your first period, like going bra shopping. It like all went hand in hand. So once you get this perm, the relaxer, everybody's giving you so much compliments, how your hair is so different, it's so light, it's so straight, it's so this and so that. And you feel accomplished some way, somehow you feel accomplished, you feel seen, you feel valued. especially when white people would give you compliments, right? And white people never have to think about the process of slapping this chemical on your head. White people never have to have the experience of your head literally feeling like it's on fucking fire, right? White women never have the experience of hold your ear tips because you might get them burned with the hot comb, right? But the final results, round of applause, oh my God, you look so great. But no lived experience as to what was the process, because it's nothing that you have to go through. Those perm kids, those relaxer kids got black faces on them, not white faces. So that's not even something you are in the slightest interested in. And when the natural hair movement came along, white women were like, hey, I got a Jufro, I'm natural too. As if a Jufro is the equivalent to an Afro. As if my 4C kinks are the equivalent to your frizzy look. As if you can't pull your hair back and be acceptable. As if you can't put some product to make your curls pop, be more quote unquote tamed and not be accepted. As if you can't align yourself closer to the expectation more than me as a black person. Because these are thoughts that you don't have. These are experiences that you don't have. And that's a form of privilege. Privilege doesn't necessarily mean that you're rolling around in dough. Privilege doesn't necessarily mean that you're wearing all these expensive and designer this and a third. Having privilege as a white person doesn't mean that you get to sit in your white ivory tower. It's the fact that your whiteness isn't even a thought to your experience, to your existence. It really is millennials and Gen Zers, and in a particular experience after that Trayvon Martin gunned down media sensationalism, because it was sensationalized, even though it was wrong. Trayvon Martin should have not been gunned down. That's when white people started becoming more aware of their whiteness. Because you never had to actually see your whiteness from the eyes of someone else. Whereas a black person, it's not just me being black and living my everyday life. It's me having to be hyper aware and having double consciousness enough to see that I might see myself as everyday people. But you over there, you may not see me as everyday people because you're hyper fixated on my black skin. You as a white person never have to think, oh shit, am I accepted here? Oh shit, will someone try my life here? Oh shit, will someone think of me and think all these negative ad hominem attacks just because I'm in the vicinity? Those are thoughts that you don't have as a white person. And that, yes, indeed is privilege. Have you ever Googled going to another state, another city, another country, and you had to Google if blah, blah, blah is racist? Have you ever had that experience as a white person? Is this city, this state, this country racist? No, that's not even a thought to you. That's not even a thought to you. Ask your quote unquote black friend if they had to Google it. Because I sure as hell, as a person who loves to travel, I talk to other blacks who travel, or even ethnic people who travel, whether you're Indian, whether you're Latino, whether you're whatever.
The Green Book was a guide for African Americans to travel safely, to find shelter, food, and gas in a time when these basic rights were not guaranteed.
Every trip through America for a black person during those times was potentially fatal. The assumption is at some time it stopped. And that's not the case. It never stopped.
I am feared, really frightened for black men traveling while black. I wonder, when does it end?
You do Google, hey, is there a population of my kind in your country? Whether your kind is black, whether your kind is, like, do you have these people in your country? Do you have these people in your state? What is the racial makeup? Is it friendly? Like, these are things that you have to think about as a Black person, as a person of color, because you know your existence is threatening to those who feel insecure about your existence, i.e., racist. Those are thoughts that you don't even have. I think the closest realization that you are othered is when white people find themselves in between that non-binary LGBTQ fluidity and they realize, oh, because of the way I define myself sexually or my sexual orientation or the way that I present in the world, oh, I am othered. And through that otherness, because of your sexual orientation, then you sort of kind of get it. But even gay men and gay women, or whatever non-binary term they call themselves, still, not all, of course, but there is a good handful that still hold on to racist ideology, even as a minority, even as an other. They still hold on to their racist belief. They hold on to their prejudices, even as an LGBTQ, whatever. And when I say whatever, it's not dismissive, as opposed to like there's a lot more other letters that I don't know. But the point is, as a white person, you have privilege because you existing is quote unquote normal and quote unquote acceptable. As a Black woman, double minority, Black as opposed to white is right, and woman as opposed to this is patriarchy. So, double minority. I know what I'm talking about when I say that white people have privilege. You may not think you have privilege, but you have privilege for the fact that, again, you never had to slap on a relaxer on your scalp that's going to burn your shit and possibly open yourself to all types of diseases and disorders like lymphoid issues or cysts in your womb or cancer. Like, these are things that anybody can be exposed to. But you having to expose yourself to it purposefully because you have to align yourself with the standard, and the standard is whiteness. Like, have it ever crossed your mind how many Black people go blonde, whether it's a blonde weave or a blonde hair dye? And yes, there are Southeast Asian little kids. I hate when Black people do this. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yes, leave them Southeast melanoid folks alone, okay? Yes, Black people can have blonde hair, but the overwhelming majority of Black people, especially outside of the Melanesian area and Polynesian area, have natural, darker tone hair, like black, brown, reddish undertone hair, right? But most Black people are not blondes, just like most Black people don't have straight hair. But why do you think a lot of Black people, especially internationally, love getting those bleaching creams, love getting their hair straightened, love doing the blonde thing? Why do you think that? Things white people don't really got to think about, because these are not things that you personally experience and come to contact with. You're not hyper aware of your whiteness. It just is. It just is. Whereas I can promise you, as a person of color, your just is confined to how much you can align yourself with whiteness. The closer you are to whiteness, the closest you are to normal, quote unquote, and acceptability, passability. So that is my video for today. I am interested in seeing what the comments will be. I don't know when I'm going to upload this onto my YouTube channel, but nonetheless, I am interested in the commentary on this, because a lot of white people will tell you, I have no privilege, I'm poor, but don't even look at the intricacies of their quote unquote white privilege and how it benefits them. And when I say white privilege, I'm not saying that in the sense of whiteness is better than Blackness. I'm saying that in the society of white supremacy that we live in, whether you're a white capitalist, whether you're on top of the white hierarchy or at the bottom, by virtue of being white, you're quote unquote safe. And these are thoughts that you don't have, experiences that you don't have just by virtue of being white. Black people are not the only ones buying perm kits or relaxers or bleaching creams or blonde hair dye. A lot of people of color are doing the same thing too. Why do you think? Leave your comments, questions, concerns. I don't know why I said that, but yeah, sure. Leave all of that in the comment sections if you would like. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below. And I shall see you in another video. Peace. And there's something dehumanizing about that experience of white people picking apart you as a human being, like you will Mr. Potato Head, parts of you in your existence that they find acceptable and other parts of your existence that they find deplorable, right? Don't like your dark skin, but oh, I love the firmness of it. I wish I could have that. Oh, I don't like your kinky hair, but oh, I love the tone of it. It's dark, it's mystique. Oh, I don't like your big old butt, but oh, I love your long legs. It's like this ability to have that cognitive dissonance of I get to pick apart the parts of you as a human being that I find okay, that I appreciate, that I like. And then the other parts of you I get to dismiss, I get to pick apart, I get to devalue. And as a white person, that's not even a thought in your head how dismissive, how disrespectful, how inhumane that is. Because it's just the standard of whiteness. It just is for you. You don't have to think about that. You don't have to think how insensitive that is. Because these are not your inherited experiences as a white person. And that indeed is a privilege. The ability and the audacity to cosplay someone else's culture, language, aesthetics, ethnicity, everything that defines them as other, to play in it like it's makeup, like it's dress up, like it's a tea party, it's a costume, it's Halloween. Whiteness is privilege. And for the white person in the back who's going to say, I don't do that, and I don't see color, and I'm colorblind, and I'm not racist, and try to over explain my anecdotal lived experience. For those of y'all who are going to try to tell me about my own life experience, that is privilege in and of itself. Not only do I define who I am and my surroundings, but I get to define who you are as a person in your lived experience. My opinion trumps what you've experienced. That in and of itself is privilege. To be able to tell my story and yours too. Privilege. And yes, undertone racist. And stay tuned for part 2, where I get into why racism is a white people problem and not a people of color problem. So stay tuned for that.